Writing. Have you ever judged someone by what you saw on the outside, only to discover there was an incredible story hidden beneath the surface? Sometimes the biggest battles are invisible, and the strongest people are the ones who quietly fight through fear, pain, and uncertainty. Today's story is about courage, compassion, and how one simple act of kindness can completely change the way someone heals. Not just physically, but emotionally too. Stay with me until the very end, because this journey isn't just about surgery or recovery. It's about discovering that real beauty grows from hope, support, and the kindness we give each other when life feels the hardest. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to Kindness Waves, like this video, and leave a comment telling us where you're watching from and what kindness means to you. Your support helps us continue sharing heartwarming stories that remind us all how powerful compassion can be. Eve had spent years hiding behind oversized sweaters, avoiding cameras, and smiling only when she felt nobody was paying close attention. It wasn't because she hated herself. It was because every time she looked in the mirror, she saw reminders of painful years that had stolen her confidence. While many people believe cosmetic surgery was only about appearance, Eve knew her journey was about something much deeper. She wanted to recognize herself again. The morning of her operation arrived sooner than expected. The hospital hallways were bright and quiet, but inside Eve's heart, a storm was raging. Her hands trembled as she filled out the final paperwork. She wondered if she was making the right decision. Fear whispered that something could go wrong. Hope gently reminded her that sometimes healing requires courage. As she waited outside the operating room, she noticed an elderly woman sitting alone nearby. The woman looked worried, holding a small photograph with shaky hands. Eve smiled politely, even though she was terrified herself. The woman smiled back. "I'm waiting for my grandson," the woman said softly. "He's having surgery too." For a moment, Eve forgot about her own fears. "I hope everything goes well," Eve replied sincerely. The woman's eyes filled with gratitude. "Thank you. I needed someone to say that." Those few words seemed so small, yet they brought comfort to both of them. Soon a nurse called Eve's name. She was rolled toward the operating room, where a kind anesthesiologist introduced himself with a warm smile. "I know you're nervous," he said gently. "Our entire team is here to take care of you." His calm voice slowed Eve's racing heartbeat. Instead of feeling like just another patient, she felt like a person whose fears truly mattered. As the anesthesia slowly took effect, the bright lights above her began to blur. The last thing she remembered was hearing someone say, "You're safe." Hours later, Eve slowly opened her eyes in the recovery room. Everything felt heavy. Her face was swollen, and speaking was difficult. She couldn't immediately see the results. All she could feel was discomfort and exhaustion. A nurse noticed that Eve had awakened. "Welcome back," she whispered kindly. "Your surgery went very well." Those simple words brought tears to Eve's eyes. Recovery wasn't easy. The following days were filled with swelling, bruises, medication, and moments of doubt. Looking in a mirror was difficult because healing often looks worse before it looks better. One afternoon, Eve sat quietly in her hospital room, feeling discouraged. There was a gentle knock at the door. Standing there was the elderly woman she had met before surgery. "My grandson is doing well," she said with a bright smile. "I wanted to thank you for your kindness that morning." She handed Eve a small handmade card. Inside were only a few words. "Beautiful hearts create beautiful lives." Eve held the card tightly. Nobody had complimented her heart in a very long time. That tiny gift became her greatest source of strength during recovery. When Eve finally returned home, healing continued week after week. There were good days filled with hope and difficult days filled with impatience. Sometimes she wondered whether the swelling would ever disappear. Her friends visited often. Instead of focusing on how she looked, they cooked meals, helped clean the house, watched movies with her, and reminded her to laugh. One evening, her closest friend looked at Eve and smiled. "You know what's changing the most?" Eve touched her healing face. "My smile," she guessed. "No," her friend replied. "Your confidence." Those words stayed with Eve. As the weeks passed, the bruises slowly faded. The swelling became less noticeable. Each morning she saw tiny improvements that no one else could recognize. But something even greater had changed. She no longer avoided mirrors. She no longer hid from photographs. She no longer apologized for existing. 6 months after surgery, Eve stood outside on a beautiful autumn afternoon. Golden leaves floated gently through the air as she looked at her reflection in a store window. She smiled, not because her appearance was perfect, not because surgery had solved every problem in her life. She smiled because she finally saw peace. The confidence she had been searching for wasn't created by the operation alone. It had been built by every encouraging nurse, every supportive friend, every thoughtful doctor, every stranger who chose kindness over judgment. She remembered the elderly woman and her handwritten card. Instead of placing it inside a drawer, Eve had framed it beside her bedroom mirror. Every morning, she read those same words. Beautiful hearts create beautiful lives. Inspired by everything she had experienced, Eve began volunteering once a week at a local hospital. She greeted nervous patients, listened to frightened families, and shared hope with people facing surgeries of their own. She never told them they needed to look different. Instead, she reminded them they deserved compassion regardless of how they looked. One nervous young woman preparing for surgery admitted she was terrified. Eve gently held her hand. "I know exactly how you feel," she said. "What if I'm still unhappy afterward?" the young woman asked. Eve smiled warmly. "Then let kindness be part of your healing too. Healing isn't only about what doctors do. It's also about the love people give you along the way." Months later, that same young woman returned to thank Eve. "You helped me more than you'll ever know," she said. In that moment, Eve realized something powerful. Kindness creates ripples. One caring sentence becomes someone's courage. One smile becomes someone's hope. One compassionate heart can change countless lives. Looking back, Eve no longer remembered her journey only as anesthesia, surgery, recovery, or 6 months of physical healing. She remembered every person who made her feel seen. She remembered every encouraging word. She remembered every act of kindness that carried her through moments when she couldn't believe in herself. And perhaps that became the greatest transformation of all. If this story reminds us of anything, it's that every person we meet may be carrying invisible fears, silent struggles, or dreams they're afraid to share. We may never know the full story behind someone's smile or their tears, but we always have the opportunity to offer kindness. A warm greeting, a patient conversation, a comforting word, or a simple smile can become the light someone desperately needs. Never underestimate the impact of compassion, because true beauty isn't measured by appearances. It's measured by the love we leave behind. Thank you for spending these moments with us. If Eve's journey touched your heart, remember to share this story with someone who could use a little hope today. Together, let's keep creating waves of kindness that reach farther than we can imagine. Until next time, keep believing in people, keep choosing compassion, and keep spreading kindness wherever life takes you.